I didn't think this would happen, but after saying last week that I've anecdotally been hearing from people that they're getting unsubscribed from my YouTube channel, I heard from hundreds, if not over 1,000 of you saying it happened to me. As we get into Friday feedback here, here's just a couple. Joanna wrote in and said, yes, I was subscribed and now I am not. I just subscribed again. This is just one of hundreds or even more examples of this. Barry Corcoran wrote in and said, last week I found out that I had been unsubscribed. I'm going to be totally transparent with everybody. I don't know what the hell's going on. YouTube insists this simply cannot happen. I've written to YouTube dozens of times about this, and they go, well, listen, usually people think they're subscribed, but they're not, or they were, but maybe they decided to unsubscribe and forgot. 1,000 people are shocked to discover I thought I was one of your subscribers and I checked and I'm not. I don't know, guys. I don't have an explanation. If there's anybody out there who might have some idea why this is happening, hundreds, over 1,000 people going, I was supposed to be subscribed. I thought I was subscribed. Please let me know. info@davidpakman.com. What do you think is going on? Leave a comment. What do you think is going on? YouTube says it simply doesn't happen. It just can't happen. If you're subscribed, you're subscribed. That's it. We do not unsubscribe people. And yet 1,000 people wrote to me and went, it happened to me. I don't know what to make of it. Sarah Billings wrote in on Spotify and said, the current full retirement age for receiving full Social Security benefits should be the cap on age for anyone running for president. Currently at 67, that places them at 75. I think the idea here from Sarah is you can't run for president if you're older than 67. And then if you win, even if you serve 2 terms, you'd still be 75 by the time you're done. Sarah says, it still seems high to me, but we need a cap. And if you're old enough to retire, then that's what you should be doing, not running the country. What do people think? Is the retirement age as set by Social Security the age limit that we should put in place for being a candidate for the president of the United States? I am only asking you ideologically, because my reading of the law is it would be very difficult to put in place additional requirements because the Constitution explains who is eligible to run. So let me know your thoughts. Sarah's idea is 67, as it is currently the retirement age for Social Security. Okay, I got another message from a name that I don't think I can pronounce, and I'm not going to try, which says, thanks, Belgium, for saving soccer from Trump and FIFA. You know, one of the incredible things that happened with the World Cup and Donald Trump intervening and encouraging FIFA to reverse the red card decision on Flo Balogun so that he could ultimately play in this knockout match with Belgium. One of the most remarkable things about it is there has been decades of effort to get people more interested in World Cup soccer, in soccer in general in the United States. And it's been happening. And the U.S. team was playing relatively well for a team that is not one of the best teams, but still certainly in the top quarter of the teams or whatever. And then Trump has to get involved and ask for special treatment and reversing decisions from that were made on the field and all this stuff. And it's just globally embarrassing. This is just one example of people who wrote in and said, this was just a total and complete embarrassment for the United States. And it turned so many people against the United States, people rooting for the U.S. to lose to Belgium because Trump was involved in overturning on-field decisions. Ultimately, the U.S. did lose, even with Flo Balogun playing, and it all became sort of moot. But Trump has a way of getting involved in anything and just turning people against the United States with things as big as foreign policy decisions and with things as relatively small as red card decisions in the World Cup. It's pathetic. On the topic of Graham Plattner, Barbara Arbabarb wrote in and said, how do you square "it's not true" with "so I quit"? You know, I think that there's 2 answers to this. My instinct was exactly the same as Barbara's. When the allegation that broke the camel's back came out against Graham Plattner, and he does this very strange, nearly 12-minute video. 12 minutes to say you're quitting, dude, come on. 12-minute video where he goes, it's all fake. What do you mean? It's all fake. All of it is fake. And I quit. My instinct was, if you really didn't do any of this stuff, if this is really a hit job with false allegation after false allegation, you stay and you fight. That's my instinct. Now, I know that there's another perspective on this. I understand that. I'm not naive. I know that some would say when the power of the establishment is against you and it is determined to destroy you, it doesn't matter if you are innocent of every single one of these allegations. You know that you can't win. And he got out because of that, not because he did anything wrong. I don't know. What do you think? My instinct is, if you really didn't do any of this stuff, you don't just go, well, I quit. It's all fake, but I'm quitting. That's my instinct. Let me know what you think if you disagree. C. Lin Ring posted on our subreddit about the bonus show. Oh, the bonus show, so you can make money. Is it possible for paying members to access the bonus show through a podcast player, or is it only available on YouTube? No, Lynn, I have great news for you. And of course I have, where's my...
the bonus show where you want to make money, but everybody else that makes money to fund themselves is bad.
No, listen, on a bonus show where we're making money and everybody else who makes money is bad, of course you can put the bonus show in your podcast player. So I'll mention this here just because this is a question that comes up for a lot of members. If you are a member, there is a dedicated podcast feed that you can add to your podcast player. It does not work on Spotify. Spotify doesn't allow custom feeds, but every other podcast player does. You can add this custom commercial-free podcast feed to any podcast app, and it'll include the bonus show. So that is available, and take advantage of it. All right, Mostly Sober Wizard asks on the subreddit, how in the world did the GOP sweep Hegseth's allegations so easily? If you believe Hegseth didn't do anything, you have to believe that a very loyal and conservative-minded Republican operative who was chaperoning Hegseth with her husband and kids back at the hotel, who was warned about him, who had text messages showing she didn't like him at the time, ended up at Hegseth's hotel extremely drunk and arguing with him, seen by witnesses. Then she, out of the blue, decided sleeping with him was a good idea, the person she was just yelling at, while her husband didn't know where she was and was waiting for her. Then she decided to lie about it immediately and get the police involved. The Hegseth defense is actually insane, but they got away with it easily. Kind of messed up. I have an explanation for this, okay? This is a really good question. All of these other people, they have allegations against them, and they come up with a response, and there's some plausible deniability, and they still end up suffering politically. And somehow Pete Hegseth had the most unbelievable defense to the allegations against him. Consensual and this and that. It's all completely unbelievable. And somehow it's swept under the rug and he still became Secretary of Defense. How did it happen? How did Hegseth survive and others didn't? And I will tell you how. When Matt Gaetz was nominated to be the Attorney General and immediately the drama exploded, there was a belief by Trump and people at the White House and others that the value of continuing to push Gaetz relative to the bad press it was getting was out of balance. And it just wasn't worth it for Trump to keep pushing, that he wasn't going to be able to do it. Child sex crimes allegations and all this stuff. It's really ugly. It's not going to work. With Hegseth, they had already had the sort of sacrificial lamb of Matt Gaetz. And Trump determined, we're just going to keep going. And once it became clear that Trump was going to keep going with Hegseth, and that at the end of the day, Republicans weren't really going to sabotage his nomination, they just pushed through it. And it's that simple. And it's actually scary because we sort of like to think, I believe, in independent media and in the media in general, that we can really influence what happens in the highest levels of power. When everybody goes, this guy cannot be Secretary of Defense, it's simply not going to happen. And the problem is that they can also control it with their media. And when they all get on the same page and they go, listen, we don't give a damn what the left says. we are simply going to stand behind Pete Hegseth. This completely unbelievable perspective of the story that Hegseth told. It was consensual, but we were arguing, and the husband and all this different stuff. It just kind of doesn't matter because they've decided we are going to push through it, and that is it. And it is a sad commentary on the state of affairs in American media, that's for sure. Greg Benedict wrote in and said, have you ever used a box cutter to cut up your cardboard to put out to the curb? Can you imagine 5 football fields of hard rubber? Yeah, this is a reference to Trump's claim that someone put a slit in his rubber with a box cutter at the reflecting pool. Trump and others said, we believe that someone took a knife or a box cutter and they cut a slit down 300 yards or something crazy in the reflecting pool. It was never believable. And there's cameras everywhere, and they still haven't gotten it on camera, okay? But it's a very good reminder. I get one box from Amazon, and I'm trying to put it out at the curb with a box cutter, and it's completely nuts. How on earth are you going to do 300 yards with a box cutter? It's a very good question. Very good question to which I don't have an answer. The answer is it didn't happen. It's just another lie from Trump. Pez Drake on the subreddit writes, we can't let Marco Rubio off the hook. Marco Rubio is the U.S. Secretary of State. American foreign relations are all under his umbrella of responsibility. Democrats need to link Rubio and the Iran war deal war repeatedly and persistently. No one should be discussing this incredibly unpopular war without mentioning his name. And we need to prompt the press to keep pressing Rubio on Iran on the record. I agree. Listen, one of the things that's going on, and this is outlined in Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan's book, Regime Change. One of the things that's going on is that Marco Rubio is rapidly sort of surging as the buttoned up diplomat who understands how things work. Unlike the naive J.D. Vance, Rubio is a serious individual. And I will grant them, Rubio is a more serious individual than is J.D. Vance. But Rubio has essentially decided what Trump wants, I'm going to push for. And that is a disaster. And when he tries to separate himself from Trumpism, if he inevitably runs for the nomination in 28, maybe against J.D. Vance, we need to have the scaffolding to remind people, here's the stuff Rubio did. And whether he believed it or not, and he was just following orders, he deserves to be held accountable for it. Excellent argument, excellent email, and I agree completely. We've got a phenomenal bonus show for you today. Remember that you can get the first ever printed copy of my new book, Pay Attention, and the first ever printed copy of my first book, The Echo Machine. These 2 books together will go to a lucky person for free. All you need to do is pre-order any version of my book, Pay Attention. Could be the signed hardcover, could be the not signed hardcover, could be the audiobook, could be the Kindle book, any version. Send your receipt to info@davidpakman.com. and we will put you in the raffle. Someone, I will personalize them. Someone will win both of these first ever printed copies of the book. People are liking it. People are liking it. We've got a great bonus show for you today. We'll be back on Monday.